And welcome back to What's Stranger Than Strange. My name is Erin. So today's episode, I'm actually going to go over another true crime story. This story is one that is very shocking, very violent. So if you are sensitive to violence, please do not watch this video. If you do decide to stick around for the rest of the video, please get all the way to the end. There is a twist that I don't think anyone is going to see coming. The story that I am going to tell is one that I have permission to tell. Names and places will either be changed completely or omitted. The story that we are going over today takes place in the 1980s in a state that is in the north. And it centers around a young lady named Lauren. And Lauren is your typical teenager back in the 1980s, doing stuff like smoking a cigarette outside in her front yard. So Lauren was actually standing next to like a burn barrel that was outside at the edge of the road by her home. While Lauren is standing outside, right up the way, she can see a car approaching her coming through the neighborhood. So the end of her street is like a big wraparound, and then the cars would proceed down past the front of her house. Now, the area that she lives in is also considered a little rural. It's only about 5 miles outside of the nearest town. And while Lauren is again standing there smoking her cigarette, the car gets closer and closer, and she eventually sees a man in the driver's seat, and the man proceeds to try to be friendly and just ask her some questions. Lauren still did have her reservations about talking to this man that she doesn't know. So the man proceeds to start asking her, what's your name? Like, how old are you? What grade are you in? Like, just trying to be friendly. And then he says to her, well, I wanted to try to see if I could talk with your parents or your parents' home. And she said, well, no, my dad's on his way from work, but he's not here just yet. Oh, so nobody's here, he says. So Lauren proceeds to just talk with the man because he did bring up the fact that he ran a travel school. That's what he said. And he said that he was trying to see if there were any young ladies that were out in that area that would want to go to his travel school. So you would get to see different places, just experience a lot outside of, the boring country area that she was living in. Eventually, Lauren's father comes home. Her father starts to talk to this gentleman about the details of his travel school. From what I recall, I want to say the travel school that was in question was in Florida. And that was like the first red flag to Lauren's father. Like, no, I'm not going to let her go that far, first of all. I also don't know you like that. And it's a good thing that her father really wasn't trusting like some people's parents were. Lauren thought the guy was pretty nice, thought that it might be a pretty good opportunity though. And so this gentleman still the whole time like trying to get her father to look through documents, look through papers that he has. And ultimately it is down to signing papers for Lauren to go to this travel school. Lauren's father is looking through the papers, and the more he's reading through them, the more he's starting to feel uneasy. So Lauren's father starts to notice that as he's reading through the papers, and this man's like putting the pressure on him to sign the papers, that the documents are starting to become harder and harder to read. Like the wording is getting difficult to understand. And he already was not really getting a good vibe from this individual, because like, why are you coming to my house and talking to my daughter that's not even an adult yet and trying to get me to just send her with you? Like, it was just really strange. Well, then Lauren's father proceeds to say, well, how did you even get out to this area? Like, most people don't really know that we're out here. And Lauren's father discovers that the local police at the city that was about 5 miles outside of their town had given this man information to go out to their home. And he had been telling people that he, again, was just trying to push his travel school. He was trying to see if there were any like young ladies that the police or like other professionals or officials in the area thought were what he labeled as like underprivileged, and he wanted to try to help them learn a skill so that they could do something fun with their life, however he peddled it. But believe it or not, the police were the ones that said, "Oh yeah, just go out to this area. There's people that live out there too." And like, he basically ended up straight at their house because of the police. Lauren's father then starts to get even more suspicious, like as he's just going through the papers. And as he's seeing that he can't make sense of the contract, he's like, I don't even understand what this is even saying anymore, because it goes from being able to read the documents and somewhat make sense of them to like now, like the words don't make sense, the sentences don't make sense. The type itself is even starting to get hard to read. And I believe that there was like altering to the document as well, like obvious signs that it had been altered. And so Lauren's father gets irritated with the man and was like, I don't know what your deal is and what you're trying to push here, but something about this situation is not right. And that's that gut feeling. That's that gut feeling that is there to protect you. And Lauren's father was a very devout man and believed in God. I really do think that there was a level of spiritual discernment in that moment, because her father said, no, I don't want anything to do with this. My daughter's not going anywhere with you. She's not going anywhere by herself. I don't know you like this. I don't even know what you're trying to even get me to sign. It doesn't make sense. This is all, something is very wrong here. So him and this gentleman from the travel school proceed to, argue back and forth. And finally her father like completely dismissed the man and was like, that's enough, get out of my house. The area that Lauren was standing in when all of this arguing started was at the end of just like the walkway that comes from the kitchen and like dining room area where her father and the travel school man were. And in order for him to leave the house, he had to pass right by her. So as she was standing there, the man went to leave and he was saying goodbye to her. And she told me that she still remembers the man's face. He had this very big, like round face, and he wore big, big glasses, probably bigger than these. And like the big glasses that were like popular in like the 80s and stuff like that. And she said that she will never forget how at first she thought the man was like super nice. And when he went to leave, she just remembers seeing just like his big face and big glasses. And he reached out as he was going out of the door. He grabs her hand and does like one of these things across it and says, you would have been perfect. And then turned and walked out of the house. And she was just like just creeped out. Time goes on, and that was all that ever came of it. fast forward, and I'm going to see approximately how long the time frame was in between when she saw him and when this individual reappears. We talked about this whole incident happening in the 80s. Nobody's heard from this guy in like a long time. 2000, the same person resurfaces, but this man ends up getting arrested, and the person that was at her house was none other than serial killer John Robinson. John was convicted of murdering 8 women between Kansas and Missouri between 1985 and the year 2000. And what's most disturbing about John's case is the fact that when he initially started to try to lure women, he, I believe, was classified as one of the first internet serial killers. He would go on the internet and attempt to get people into chat rooms and get people into contracts where he would basically keep these women as what he classified as his slaves. Okay, y'all. So it gets more weird. Trust me, it's super scary. So the contracts, we put 2 and 2 together later when I spoke with Lauren. The contracts that were being drafted were the travel school contracts, or like these business contracts that he was getting people's parents to sign, or getting these young women to sign, thinking that they're signing a contract to learn how to do a skill. And in reality, he was having them sign a contract to be enslaved by him. And we already know like the horrible things that this guy was doing. So I mean, put 2 and 2 together about what type of servitude he was asking these women to participate in. Oddly enough, when he was initially caught, and this is where it gets even more weird, they found the remains of 2 women that were missing in barrels, I believe, on his property. So not only was he luring these women, but he was harming them, and then he was putting their bodies into barrels. And pretty much everybody that he came into contact with, from what I'm gathering, he killed. One of the girls that was taken, okay, she actually had a very young daughter. Like, she had a baby when she decided to uproot. And her name was Lisa Stasi, or Stacy, Lisa Stacy, one of the two. And she had a little girl, and the mother and the baby went missing. And come to find out, the young girl's name is Heather, and she actually was taken by Mr. Robinson and given for adoption to his brother and sister-in-law. So the little girl grew up not really knowing her mother, not really knowing what really happened to her mother, but all she knew was that, you know, that was her family. But she made comments about how her uncle always gave her the creeps. Like, he was just really creepy. Like, just, I know one account that I had read that he made like weird comments and stuff like that to her, like, or would ask her like really weird questions that were just not appropriate. But more recently, there has been a documentary that came out. I want to say it was Biography Channel that did it. And it is Heather Robinson, the girl that was the baby when her mom went missing, talking about how she found out who her uncle really was, just different things like that. And then just kind of like her journey, I believe, finding her biological family. So that's just that in a nutshell. But the craziest bombshell, y'all want to know the craziest bombshell of this whole story? The craziest thing, like, it's so sad, like, all of it. Like, I feel so bad for, like, the families of these young women, not knowing, like, what happened to them. Probably the guilt too, like if they were parents and they were just like, yeah, just, just go to school and go learn something, and then like you never come home. I just could not imagine. But here's the biggest bombshell. So y'all know Lauren, the girl in the very beginning of the story, whose dad actually said, I'm not sending her with you. Like he just had like bad vibes and stuff like that. That man actually saved his daughter's life. And the woman, Lauren, is actually my mother in real life. And had my grandfather not possessed that discernment and spoke up and told that man to get away to protect his daughter, I wouldn't even be here today to even tell you this story. Tell me your thoughts below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I've got more stories to come. Until we meet again, everybody, take care. Bye bye.